Okay, we are live now.
All right, guys. Good evening on a Sunday evening. So let's get started. So today, I want to spend a lot of time. I have a lot of sample code here for the list.
We are live now.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys. Good evening on a Sunday evening. So let's get started. So today, I want to spend a lot of time. I have a lot of sample code here for the list.
We are live now.
Thank you. All right, guys. Good evening on a Sunday evening. So let's get started. So today, I want to spend a lot of time. I have a lot of sample code here for the list.
We are live now.
All right, guys.
You on a loop?
Good evening on a Sunday evening. Let's get started.
This is the third time I heard that.
Yeah,
I know, I saw this yesterday as well.
Here. We're just saying 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah, I think please mute everyone other than Kannan.
You on a loop?
Good evening on a Sunday.
Okay, go ahead, Kannan. Let's see what happens.
Okay. All right, guys. So what we're going to do today is I want to go through. Let me check where we were yesterday. We did a little bit of strings yesterday, right? So we did some. So let's go through some of these slides here real quickly, and then we'll jump into the list. Okay. So we talked about this backslash, right? So \n is for new line, \t is for tab. So if you assign a variable s equals name/t h/n, and if you print the value of s, it's going to evaluate those the escape characters, right? So /t is tab, so it does a name and a tab age. And then you see a new line, so it creates a new line, and then John tab 21, and then a new line, Bob tab 44, right? So we went through these things yesterday, so just to recap. We also worked on an example of what a triple quote does. A triple quote is used for a string over several lines, so it's not, triple quote doesn't mean for 3 lines, it could be for 4 lines or more. You know, it's for several lines, greater than 1 line is triple quotes used for. So we also did some string operations like concatenation. So we did, we practiced this. So one thing that I haven't done is these examples, right? So let me show you what I have here. So let's go back to the foo.py or s2.py where we have this computational things, right? So in here, so you have we have this K equals computational, L equals linguistics. And then you have C1 equals K plus L, right? So that's computational linguistics. And C2 equals C1 times 4, so it multiplies by 4. So now let's do this, right? So what happens when you do K, so what does this mean, right? So if I access K, so let's see first what is K. K is computational. So if I do K : 1, what does it mean? It's going to give me everything, the entire value of K, okay, 1 character at a time. So what if I do : 2? Can anyone guess?
Will it say computational without the C?
No. What it does is it'll give you every second character. Okay, starting from 0. So 0 is C, so you get C, and then 1, 2, which is M, you get that, and then after M it's P and U, that is 1 and 2, that is U, right? And then after U it's T and A, so it gives you A, and so on and so forth. So that's what it means. So if I do 3, it's going to take 3 characters at a time. If I do 4, it's going to take 4 characters at a time, okay? So now, any idea of how do I reverse this string? So you have k equals computational. So what if I need to reverse this string? What do I have to do?
Maybe start a loop and insert the first letter of this string into the, you insert, and then every next letter that you get to, you insert at the front of the other string, something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's usually we do in other languages, but with Python, it makes it very simple. I can do this, and it'll reverse the string for me. You see that?
This is great.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Wow.
Okay. So what if I do this? What do you think will happen here?
It should take from the second through the fourth letters, right?
Yep. So 0, 1, and it doesn't include the 4, okay? Because it takes 1 less than 4. So it's 2 to 3, literally 2 and 3. So this is 0, O is 1, M is 2, P is 3. Okay. And if I do this, we did this yesterday, it will start from the second character and then give you everything starting from there. So these are called slicers in Python, okay? So you can also do a range in Python. We'll get to that a little later, but so the range is, let's say, range of 10. It gives you from 0 to 10. Okay, that's what the range means here. So we'll get to that range later. So let me go back to the presentation again. So we talked about all these examples, right? So it'll get you the characters from 11 to 16. When you do 20 colon, every character after 20 does that. So if you do, so if you're, oh, there's another difference, right? So we talked about K, and we did K colon, sorry, K colon colon -1, it reverses. Okay, what if I do K colon colon, not colon colon, just 1 colon -1? What do you think this will result?
Except the last character, it will take everything.
Exactly. So that's what it means. Okay. Any questions so far?
So wait, why is it that when it's double colon -1, it gives us the reverse, meaning it reads from the end backward, but when it's single colon -1, it just subtracts the last character? Is there a reasoning for that?
Yeah, so it basically gives you, so when you do a colon, when you start with a colon, it means that it's starting from 0. Okay, so it starts from 0, 0, C here. And then you're telling Python that give me everything except the last character. So if I do -2 here, it'll remove the last two characters. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what it means. I think we went through some of these yesterday, right? So do you know what this means, right? Count E. Like for example, if I do this, k dot count of let's say C. What do you think you will get here? Or let's say T.
You know, every time I bring my mouse on the screen to click on the mute button, it hides the bottom rows. So I can't see what you're typing. So I hesitate to, okay, that's, yeah, but even then, if you're typing at the very bottom, then it hides the bottom rows. So I can't see what you're typing.
Okay, how about now?
Thank you. Yeah. So what's T? We haven't defined T right now.
It will count all the T's in the.
Exactly. So it'll count all the T's in the string K.
Okay, thank you.
So if I do O, so there are two O's in computational. Okay, so that's what it means. Great. Okay, so now let's go to list in Python, right? So what are lists in Python? Lists are ordered collection of arbitrary objects, right? It could be strings, it could be numbers, it could be another list. And you can access the list based on an index, right? So the index for this list S is 0 is A, 1 is B, 2 is C. So if you say, give me S within square brackets 2, it'll give you C. If you ask for 3, it's going to error out because it's index out of range. Okay, so it's variable length, it grows automatically. You can keep appending to the list. We talked about extending a list and appending a list yesterday. I will talk to you about that here for a second. We had it here, I think, or no, why did we do this? Yeah, we talked about this one, right? So I have a list called 7893. When I do a sort, let's run this code. So when we do a sort, it sorts the list. Let's print this list. So, you know, let's do this here. Let's start here. I'm going to clear this. So, no, sorry, because I'm reusing the XL somewhere else. So let's say print. You know, yeah, we're printing out. So you can see that the list is sorted right now because I have it as 7893. When you sort the list, it becomes 3789. And then right after that, I'm appending another list 1, 2. So that gets added here. And then I'm extending by this list. So when you do an extend, it's going to take individual elements within the square brackets and it's going to add them as individual elements within this list. So that's a difference between an append and an extend. So that's what we were doing. Okay. So let's go back here. So now when you're doing the length, like for example, if I do print I would say L.len, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I just got drawing a blank here. Len of you, yeah. So the length of the list is 9, right? So because you have 9 elements in the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is considered as 5, and then 4 is 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the length of the list is 9. Any questions?
No, it's clear.
Okay. So So that's how you can do the list operation. So I have a whole bunch of list operations here that I'm going to do. We're going to do some slicing of lists here. So these are some examples, but let's go through. Yeah, we talked about append, sort, append. There is also reversing a list. I will walk you through some examples. So with that, let's go back to some really cool examples that I have. So I'll share this POI file with you guys as well. So
By the way,
let's,
Kannan, quick
yeah.
question. You haven't shared the presentation or any slides yet, right? Just making
Yes,
sure.
not yet. Maybe
Got it.
you said you had a document repository, right? Maybe I can put it over there. Yeah.
Sure, that would be great. Thank you. If you share the link in either of the WhatsApp groups, I'll put it in the repository. Anything that's put there gets in the repository.
Sure.
Thanks.
So I have this a good 102 lines of code. Various examples of lists. So I'm going to that is going to be the focus for the rest of today's session. We'll go through each one of this and then answer all questions. So the first thing I have is an empty list. There's nothing there. Okay, L equals within parentheses nothing, right? An empty list. But I can also add to the list. So now I'm reassigning the list to some 4 items, right? I have 1, 2, 3, ABC, 1.23, and some another empty thing, right? So there's nothing there again. So when you run this list, let me go through each one of them. Actually, let me clear this, run it again. So the first one is an empty list, okay? Because we don't have anything there. The second one is L equals 1, 2, 3. So some random set of it could be strings, it could be numbers, it could be an empty list, like another sublist. And so in here there is a nested sublist. So the next one is the next nested sublist where I'm assigning like Bob as a string, number 40. I have another sublist called Deb and MGR. Okay. So now in here, when I say list within parentheses, when I specify a string, it'll shred the string and it'll add individual elements into that. So that's what you see here. You can see my screen, right? My results. Okay, I'll take it as an S. So in here, when I say list spam, right, it's going to take individual elements and add it to the list of that string. Okay, so if I say Python, it's going to take the individual elements within that string Python and add it to the list array. Okay, so that's what it means.
So Kannan, where is that happening? Is that happening where you're saying the curly bracket capital L, or where is that happening where it gets broken into the
This
separate?
one, line 10.
Okay, so the line right below that, the print F semicolon, what does that F stand for?
Formatting. It's not
Okay.
semicolon, it's a single quote.
I mean, excuse me, yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a formatted string.
So we don't replace the list with just Python. Python gets added. I mean, what makes it?
This is a function. This is a
okay. Got it. Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
You're basically passing a string variable, a string constant value, and it's going to shred that string, and it's going to assign individual characters, right, and into that list. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
So that's one way of doing list. Another one is a range value. Okay. So if I say a range from 4 to minus -4 to 4, and when I print that, you can see that the range starts from -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So again, in Python, it always takes, if 4 is my n number, it's going to exclude the number 4 and go one less than that. So if I do -4 to 5, it is going to include 4 here. It will not include the 5. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's the range of numbers. Now you have a range, right? So the range of numbers starts from -4 to 4. And if I do a specific index, like L is my list, and if I specify an index, the index is 0, it will give you, so what is L of 0, right? I made a mistake here. Should be, oh no, yeah, that should be this. So what does L of 0? So let's run it again. So clear, run it again. So L of 0 is index. This is what it means, right? So in my range is here. This is the index range, right? Minus -4. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 elements in this index. So if I do L of 8, it's going to show the value 4, right? Or let's say L of 7. Okay, so it's going to show the values 3. So let's run this again. And so the index is 3, right? Because the 7th element of this index, of this list, is what we need, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 3. So that's what this index means. Okay. So then now, what is the length? And again, I made a mistake. So I should put it within curly brackets. So when I do this, it's going to give me the length of the list. So in here, it should say the length of the range is 9, right? So there are 9 characters in this list. Okay. I missed another one here. Okay, sorry. Let me run this again. Made some silly mistakes in my printing. So before we do, so we did this index 7th element, right? So this is my range, and the 7th element is 3. Now I'm getting a range of values from 0 to 5, right? So when you do 0 to 5, it's starting from 0, which is -4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I told you in Python, it doesn't take the 5th, right? So because it starts from a 0, so it'll start from 0 and count to 5 spots, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's total of 5. So if you count this, it's 5. That's what the values you're seeing here. And then what's the total length of this range, right? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 elements in this list. So that's what the length means. So when you do a length of the list, it gives you 9. So the next one is we're doing a multiplication. So if I do L times 3, it's going to multiply this 3 times. Okay, and then it makes the list 27 entries here. So as you can see that after 4, it starts from -4 and goes up to 4, and then it starts from -4 and goes up to 4.
And then
So that's 3 times the list.
I have a quick question. Like you said, if there is a string and if we use the asterisk for multiplication, it repeats the string 3 times or whatever we say. Number of time, but if there is any like integers value, it will multiply it. So that's what I was wondering, why it is repeating it instead of multiplying.
Because it's not, L is not an integer, right? L is a list. It's a derived data type.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. If L is like, you know, a numeric value or a decimal value, it will multiply.
So it does not matter even though the value of the list is integer or floats or anything, it's a numeric value, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It will not multiply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the next one is iteration. So this is where we use a for loop. You know, I'm kind of jumping, you know, so there's a section on for loop and while loop here. So in here, I'm saying for x in L, print x, okay? So which is basically looping through the number. So this is what it does. It gives me all the individual numbers, right? For x in L, print x. So it loops through the each and every indices of the list, and it's displaying the value -4, 3, 2, and 1, right? I'm going to share this file with you so you guys can practice. You don't have to copy it, and you know, if you, as I'm going through, if you want to practice this, that's good. So the next one is I'm doing in Python 2. There used to be like a has values, right? Or a has key has values, I think. I think this is from on this method has been removed in Python 3. Because it's removed, you have to use a different way of checking. So we're checking if the number 3 is in L. Okay, so we're saying, hey, tell me if 3 is in L. If 3 is in L, then print 3 is in L, else print 3 is not in L. Okay, so it prints 3 is in L. So if I say 100, if 100 is in L, it's going to give me an answer. Sorry. Well, I didn't modify this, so. So it says 100 is not in this list because we are asking, it's like it's searching the list. We're searching the list for a specific number or a string, okay? And if it's a string, you have to put it within single quotes. If it's a number or a decimal, you don't put it within single quotes. It's the same example, and that's what it means. So how do you grow the list? So we talked about appending and extending yesterday. Sorry, you have a question?
Yeah. So if there are multiple times, like let's say there are 2 times 3, so it will print it 2 times.
No, the in will result in a Boolean answer, true or false.
Okay. So even if it is in multiple times, it will print only one. Okay.
It's not printing one. It's basically saying, hey, this is true. It is there, right? Or it is not there. So now I'm appending the list.
Yes. Following up to that question, that means this is not a loop that's running through. This if is just a one-time check across the entire list.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
This is similar to the functions in the Excel.
No, Help me out. What function are you referring to?
So in if there's a function set up in the Excel where you can write a logic similar to this, it will give you a Boolean answer.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't used Excel functions, but if it gives you a Boolean answer, then it's exactly the same. Okay, so there are different ways it. So it basically does a search, right? It loops through individual element within this list items, and then it says, it checks if the value is there. Okay, and that's how it finds it, and then it says that function, the in function, will return a true or a false. So if it's a true, then you're basically this thing. So there's another thing that you have to understand in Python is that when you do an if condition and there is a colon here, and then you see that my print is not in the same line as the if condition. Okay, so it's indented. When you write the code in an indented fashion, it means that anything below that line will be executed if it is true. So if I have another line, say print something like this, it will print these two lines because they are part of this block, the if block, the true block of the true condition block of the if condition, right? So when I clear and run this, you can see that, oh, well, in this case, 100 is not because it went to the else condition. Let's take an example, or let's move it here. On the same line as this one. So you can see that second line is also printed, right? Because it'll do everything here. Now, if I move this to this one, you will still see the same thing printed, but the scope of this line is not in the else condition. It's on the same level as if and else. So that's very important to understand in Python. The indentation is very critical. So even though both results in the same output, they have a different meaning. This is considered as a separate print statement, not part of this if then else condition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So that colon is always has to be there, even if I have single line, or?
Yeah, the colon needs to be there. It's part of the syntax.
Okay. And for that print second line, if I do double indentation, then will it error out or?
It will error out.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. How many such can we write under one if and one else?
You can any number of lines. There is no limit to that. But there is also, nested if then else condition, like else if. We'll have a separate topic on that, maybe next week on that. But this is a very simple if else condition. To answer your question, Shali, you can have any number of lines as long as they're indented properly under the if condition.
Thank you.
Okay. So to somebody asked a question about double indentation, right? So the way you would do that is doing an indentation here, right? This is what you were asking, right?
Yeah.
So let's run this. See, you got an error because it's unexpected indentation, because this is not a function. This print is not a function. Okay.
Yep.
Well, the print is a function, but it's not an if condition, or it's not a user-defined function. You see my point? So that's why this thing doesn't make sense, because it's not evaluating to anything. It just does a print job. So that's why it doesn't work. But if you have another if condition here, like on the same line as the print, right? And then you can have indentation. So you can have like this complex nested indentation that can happen, but it needs to be, meaningful. Okay. So let's run this again. So now I have an append, right? So what does this append do? So after appending, I added, so this was my list before, up to 4. Okay, and then I appended another 4 here. So that's what this appending means. And then after appending, I'm extending this one. So we went through this yesterday, right? When the difference between an append and extend is append can only take one argument, whereas an extend, well, extend also takes one argument, but it's a list, right? So it'll loop through this list elements, and then it'll append it to the list. So after extending, I'm adding this 5, 6, 7. Okay. So if I don't do an extend, and instead if I do an append, what do you think will happen there? So the same line, instead of l.extend, when I say l.append, what do you think will happen here?
It will add another list element of 5, 6, 7. Just single.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what it means. Okay. So now we are coming to another one called insert. So we're inserting on the 4th element, we're inserting 100. Okay. So here's my list after extending, right? So the 4th element from here is, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So between -1 and 0, it'll insert the 100, and that's what you see here. Okay. And the count will count it's not the length of the list, but it's counting whatever you're specifying within that list, right? So if you say 0, count of 0 means how many times 0 is there in the list. There's only one time. So that's why the count is 1. Okay. And now I want to know, what is my index of the number 6 here? So that's the next one, right? Index of 6 means it's going to count where the index is, right? The first index. So it's if I do like, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's in the 12th position. So that's why you see the result as 12 here. Okay. And then the next method is the sort method. So l.sort means it sorts the list. So after sorting the list, you can see that 100 was here, inserted between on the 4th, between the 4th and the 5th. Now 100 became the last because it's sorted in ascending order. Okay, and then reverses the string. Sorry, the list element. So 100 becomes the first, and -4 becomes the last, because it just reverses the entire list. So I'm going to pause here. So I went through a lot of functions here on the list, and I'll share this file with you guys so you can play with it. Any questions so far?
I have a question, but I want to wait if anybody else has a question.
I just did an L dot sort and it gave me an error. Everything else I was doing was working fine. L dot sort with the parentheses. No worries, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question on the same thing. So for the sort to work, does all the elements have to be of same type? Because yesterday I also had the same error, but I figured out I had list elements as integers and another list inside that and string also. So maybe that is why it was erroring out.
Like this, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you have both integer and string.
Yeah.
I have the same, yeah.
Okay. But if you do like this, z equals,
Could you clear the screen first, please, if you don't mind?
sorry. So now it sorts, right? Because it's all integer
Yes.
strings.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Thank you.
So now, any other questions? Shali, you had a question?
So my question was, when you ran these functions, would the original list keep changing? And when we run the last time, if we give any command, will it take the final one after you have sorted, you have appended, added everything? So is that
Yeah. Yes.
going to pick up the most latest one which is there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Okay, great. So now let's talk slightly different here. We have 12 minutes. I think I want to go through the whole thing today, and then we can. I'll share this file with you guys. So now let's run this again. So in here we have two lists here, right? So I have an old list equals 1, 2, 3, and then I'm creating a new list, right? New underscore list equals old list, which means that the old list and new list are pointing to the same thing, right? So now what happens when I append a character to the new list? What will happen to the old list? Do you think the old list will be 1, 2, 3, or old list will also get updated?
It won't get updated.
It won't get updated?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's typically is the expectation, but Python works a little different. So when I add and append an A to the list, I'm printing the new list and the old list, and you can see that they both have that A appended.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is a function called pop.
So wait, Kannan, how did the A get appended to both when you just appended to the new list, not to the old list?
That's how the Python design is.
So
When you're
every
copying a
time,
list to another list, they both lists gets updated.
so this applies only for the list or even for normal variables as well. So every time
No.
you assign value.
No, it's different, right? The variables are different, right? So, well, actually variables are, or let's say, let me clear this. So when you say A equals 5, right? And say B equals A. Okay, so print A, print A, print B. So now B equals 10. Okay, so what is B? 10. What is A? 5. In this case, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Or let's say A equals 5, B equals A. So what is A? What is B? Okay, now A equals 10. Okay, what is B? It still doesn't change.
Yeah.
Okay, because it took a copy of the value of A before A got changed to 10. Okay, but the list doesn't work that way. So old list, new list. Okay, old list dot append B. So what is old list? You get this. What is new list? Same. So this is a function of list. That's how it works.
This is not the case in any other languages, right? Now, normally
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do this. Normally we do this to keep a backup of my list, for example,
Mhm.
right? So if I want to do the same thing, like I want to keep a backup, is there anything that we can do here to not update the old list?
Not with the list. You know, I have to think of a different way of doing that.
It's like assigning it by value versus assignment by reference, right? Similar
Yeah.
concept we have in other language.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, you know, let's think about that, you know, maybe a discussion for next week. We'll figure it, we'll see if there is a way to do that. Maybe that's a thing you guys can think about it. Okay, so let me go through this again. So we have 7 minutes left. I have a few more things to cover here. So the pop is popping up a specific value from the list, right? So in my list here, I have, when I pop a specific number, so I'm asking for the 5th index, right? So starting, so this is my reversed list. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the 5th element is popping the specific value is 4, right? So that's the value. So you're getting to a specific value. Now you can also remove. So pop will go with an index, whereas remove goes by number, the actual value. Okay. So when I specify remove 100 from the list, it'll remove that 100 from the list. So after removing, remove a specific index. So this 100 is removed, and you can see that the 100 is gone from the list. Okay. And list.clear will clear the list. Nothing there in the list. Okay. So that's the clear function of the list. Now, the next one is interesting, right? So as you know, the 2 asterisks means raised to the power, right? For x raised to power of 2, x raised to power 2 for x in range 5, right? It's a very powerful statement. So all it does is it takes, and so starts from 0, right? So 0 raised to power of 2 is 0. And that's what you see in the list here. And then the next one is 1. 1 raised to the power of 2 is 1. So you get 1. 2 raised to the power of 2 is 4, 9, and 16, right? So from 0 to 4, it'll raise to the power of 2 and add it to the list. Okay.
I was just a little unclear on the range 5. Could you go back to the previous higher up in your file where you specify the range from -4 to 4? It's just higher up in your file, just to see how. Yeah, right there, range -4. Okay. So then how does that range work as opposed to the next one where you have range 5?
Really good question. So this is a, we're basically specifying, if you specify a range with, so again, this is a list, right? So within the list, you have the 2 square brackets. Within the list, you're generating the numbers, right? The elements of the list, you're generating that using this. So that's how, if you specify a range value here, that it'll error out. So we're doing, so for, I think you can, let's not complicate this, but for now, take it as, the range is the total number of digits, right? So the 5 digits starting from 0 is what we're going to be doing it. And that's what this does.
Okay, that's like a for loop, 1 to 5, right? I mean,
Exactly.
okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay. So now the next one is, there is a map function within Python. The ORD stands for Unicode representation. So if you go to here, there is a Unicode converter. I got this website. So if you look at have you heard about UTF-16, UTF-32 text? So when you compare, so like, for example, if I do S.
It's like ASCII codes, right?
No, it's UTF, Unicode. So when I convert the letter S, the decimal representation of S is 115. Okay. So if I do P, the decimal representation is 112, right? A is 97 and M is 109. So that's what it does. So when I'm doing a list, but then I'm mapping, I'm calling a map function, and I'm saying, give me the Unicode representation for each character in this string span. And that's what it does. So S is 115, P is 112, A is 97, and M is 109. Okay. So this is how it works. Let me quickly go through another one. This is the introduction of function. So as I told you, an addition, so in this case, an addition, right? I'm passing, a function has a parameter called n. And then what does a function do? It takes that number and adds it to itself and then returns a value. So when I call addition and send the value of 1, you get the value 2 because the addition function returns a value 2. Okay. So now, how do we double these numbers, right? For example, I have a list, a numbers list, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And I'm calling, and I'm assigning the value to, I'm calling a map function. And within the map function, I'm calling addition. And then I'm sending these numbers like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then it lists the number 2, 4, 6, and 8, right? Because it loops through individual elements, like 1 goes here, the value is 2. That's what you see here. And then 2 goes in this method addition, and 2 plus 2 is 4. That's what you get here. And then 3 becomes 6, and 4 becomes 8. So that's another way of generating the numbers. What I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to stop here because I don't want to go into the Lambda functions because that's a little bit intense discussion. So we'll save this for next week on, what a Lambda function means. But I'm going to pause here. It's 6 o'clock, and want to know if you guys have any questions so far.
I have a question in regards with the map function. Like, so you define the function up above there and like creating a result map addition. So are they connected, or is just for the understanding like what it is?
No, this is this addition calls this method, this function.
Okay, so function name and then passing the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go in detail next week. It's very, very exciting topic. It's very powerful. That's why Python is so widely used, because the simplicity of the language.
Could you just give a simple example of where this practically is used, if at all, anywhere?
Well, this is, if you have to.
Well, I understand that these are all very we are understanding the vocabulary of Python right now, so you can't explain, but just to get an understanding of where it could be used.
Well, if you're generating a list that has complex functional calculation, or see, this is a very simple function, right? The addition is a very simple function. It just returns n plus n. Imagine that there is a bunch of processing that happens here, right? And more like statistical modeling, right? So where you are calling a lot of different statistical modeling functions, and you want to generate a list that is not a simple list that we have been discussing. I think that's where the map will make sense. Now, the whole purpose of this is to explain what a map means and what is its capabilities. You may or may not be using it everywhere, but it makes the like, for example, instead of saying 2, 4, 6, and 8, and let's say I have a very big list, right? That not just 4 elements, but there could be thousands of elements here. You cannot be practically typing that one by one and and assigning that list. So you want to generate that list. So that's where this map and this additional methods or functions will help you. And there is also an inline definition, which is called the lambda function, right? So when I use lambda and I'm saying, when you pass a value x, I'm returning the sum of the same value, right? And that's what this lambda function means. So by doing this one, I don't even have to write this method. I can do an inline function definition. So Shali, to answer your question, the reason why you would use, or the practical use case for this, is to generate a list that has a large number of elements inside the list.
Thank you so much.
Kannan,
Okay.
yeah, Kannan, I just created I have a Google Doc. I just created a folder. Would it help if we had a public folder where you can drop files and people can come and pick up files? I just shared it in the meeting.
Or we can, you guys, can someone take a lead on creating a Slack channel?
Slack channel, I can manage that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can put everything over there.
Okay, cool. So but then for Slack channel, I'll need everybody's email addresses for them to get added. So
yeah, I'll send mine on that WhatsApp group that you have.
Okay, cool, great, thanks. I'll ask everybody to share their email addresses. All right, and I'll share the Slack channel in there.
So do we have separate WhatsApp group also for this one? Am I a part of that?
I had started a group for Python. So if you just reach out to me, AZ, I'll add you to that. Or myself, Sonal, Shali, we're all admins, Kannan as well. But just, what's your name?
Kailash.
Kailash, just send me an email, AZ, all right? Or send me a message on.
Yep, I'll do that.
Yeah, WhatsApp, cool, thanks.
All right, guys, thank you. Have the rest of a good Sunday. We'll talk next week.
Thanks so much, Kannan. And guys,
Do we have now any chapter to be finished by next week?
Yeah, till like 9, chapter 9.
Okay.
Thank you. So, yeah, also, guys, I had a session, like, think of it as a TA session, right? Saturday morning. Today is Sunday morning. So yesterday, basically, people can let me know when time works for you. I'm happy to hold a session and just bring people up to speed on what we've done so far. So,
I have one last question.
Sure.
When we took up the 100, when you said remove 100, if I have, say, data set which has repetition of hundreds, will it remove all the hundreds in that data set?
It should. So let's do this.
So basically, it removes anything that resembles what we ask it to remove.
Right. So let's run this code again. Let's see. So in here, we have 100 after reversing the list. remove a specific index. So if you do like what, any negative numbers here? No. Okay. Trying to see where I added.
People are dropping out, so just
Okay.
to
Yeah. So Shali, let's yeah
No,
try
I
it
got
out.
the idea. Concept is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So we actually we don't have a session for next weekend, by the way.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah, we don't. We kept like a 1 weekend of gap between beginners and intermediate session.
Okay.
So just wanted to let everyone know, unless we have some question and if we want to meet for a 1 hour, half an hour, then it's fine. So if you guys have any question, just ping me or Kannan or somebody in the chat, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. Sonal, would it work if I just hold like a TA session, like a teacher's assistant session? Anybody who wants to come in with any questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. that would be-
I'll set that up. I'll manage that. Same time. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, Kannan, Sonal, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kannan. Thanks.
you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.